Okay, Susie, so you have Leslea here, so I don't know.
Leslea.
Doctor, so okay, so how do we introduce her?
We can introduce her as Dr. Leslea Walters. And what's your title right now? Because you have a new title now. Well, unofficially.
Starting in July.
Yeah. What's your new title in July?
Section head of obstetrics at the Women's Hospital.
Look at this.
You can
Like you brought like a specialist, like you were talking about bringing a specialist, you know, and she'll be lots of fun. Like she's a OBGYN.
But she's.
I'm just kidding.
But if you caught her on Twitter,
She's
you know.
scary.
Yeah, but she's also super smart and fun, which is my favorite combination.
Oh no, we've talked, yeah, but yes. Oh.
Gynecologists are scary for some people.
Yeah,
but they don't have to be.
Yeah, I'm sure. How many times have you've had people sit down in front of you and it's like, why are you here?
Yeah, can usually draw them out though.
But anyways, I guess the whole topic of women's health, Susie has always been, you know, you've always been such a strong proponent, you know, just for getting yourself checked and everything like that. But what are we getting checked? And like, you know, what is important now to get checked?
Right. Well, in my specialty, one of the main screening programs that we are a part of is for cervical cancer screening. Most preventative health care is delivered by family doctors and their teams of nurse practitioners, and they do that very, very, very well. Most women are connected, which is a good thing, but there's a huge number of women who don't have a family doctor or who don't access their family doctor on a regular basis. So I connected with Susie when we decided to have a PAP day, basically a walk-in PAP clinic.
Cool.
And where that came from is when I was starting up in practice, I got letters from a small number of family doctors who they themselves don't do PAP tests. And that's an unfortunate reality, but it is a reality. And for any number of reasons that happens. Some of them work with nurse practitioners or other physicians who do them. And so they use those resources to make sure their patients get screened. But if they don't have that, they refer to a gynecologist.
Right.
And when you're new in practice and you're not that busy, it's easy to accept everything. When you are busy, you start to triage things a little bit differently. And when you look at something like that and say, well, that should be done by the family doctor, and refuse to say it, unfortunately, that patient may not get seen. She may not get her PAP test.
Oh,
so,
wow.
And that happens year over year too, right?
Yeah.
And that becomes problematic.
A problem, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So, you know, I thought I don't want to abandon these women or these family doctors who've been referring to me, and now suddenly I'm, you know, too much of a big deal to see them. So what's the solution? What can we do? And then the women who don't have a family doctor, how are they accessing their PAP tests?
Right.
So we thought if we just open up a day periodically and advertise it as a walk-in clinic for PAP tests, and add on to that screening for sexually transmitted infections, talking about HPV and vaccination and who should get it and who shouldn't and how do you get it and what does it cost.
Yeah, I want to know about all of that
Right.
too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how this came to be. And we just had our second PAP day, and you know, lots of women who came in who said, oh, I got the letter from Cervix Check. So I don't know if you're aware, but there's a database in Manitoba of every PAP test.
I've gotten the letter, yes.
And we keep track of who's due, and especially when there's been an abnormality and the next PAP needs to be sooner or the follow-up needs to be escalated, and women get letters in the mail. So if you get that letter and maybe you call your family doctor's office and they're booking weeks or months in advance for that type of appointment, maybe that's a hard appointment for you to make. I know I'm constantly rescheduling things that are booked too far in advance because my schedule is so crazy. So, you know, people who came in and said the letter was on my table and I just came in, you know. So I love hearing that. And especially after all is said and done, when they say, that was so quick, that was so easy, you know, that was really not a big deal. I'm just so happy to have it done.
Yeah. Now, is this kind of like the same thing for men, like, you know, not getting their prostate checked?
Well, yeah, it's the same thing, right? So we do a lot of focus on men's health and prostate health and things like that. And there seems to be not a disconnect, but women are always the ones pushing their men to get these tests done. Well,
Right.
who's pushing us sometimes? So we need to take care of our own health as well.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes a lot of us think, oh, I'll get to it. That letter probably sat on the table like mine did for a few months, and then the time just gets away from you. So I think the great idea that Dr. Leslea and her colleagues at her practice had was just to make it really simple, to bring it down to like it's 5 minutes of your day. You can book ahead or you can just come walk in, but just get it done and it might save your life,
Yeah, it's always like that. It might save your life. And
Yeah.
So I want to like go back to like cervical cancer, and we hear endometriosis and all of those things, and being female, right? You're just like, oh, and for a lot of us, we really don't know what it really is. Like, we just hear what's in the media or
And
whatever.
sometimes you don't need to know what it is until you hit that magical age of 40. And then all of a sudden,
it all-
everything, you're
Does it
just
all
like,
make
what is
sense? Yes.
happening? Like, what's going on? And you're just like, I'm confused. I've never had this before. And you don't know what to do and you don't know where to turn. And some women, I heard anecdotally, didn't want to get their Pap test done by their family doctor for whatever reason. So they went and booked for this Pap day, and, they took care of it that way as well. So I think there's sometimes things that we don't talk about or that we're afraid to talk about. And, having this kind of connection and even, reaching out on social media sometimes I think is really smart to connect with experts in the field and say, I know, this is your area of expertise. I have some questions, and seeing you're helping other people when you ask those questions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing about that, when you talk about lack of education and awareness, most people don't realize how completely simple and straightforward a Pap test actually is to do. So some people may be very well connected with their family doctor and get great care, but they think for some reason that area has to be taken care of by a specialist.
Right.
And I mean, I'm good at what I do, but do I do a better Pap than my family doctor colleagues? No, absolutely I don't.
Right.
But if you have that perception that you need a specialist for this special thing that we don't talk about because it happens down there, then it just creates an extra barrier. So we're just trying to open up
Clear the way.
Yes.
Oh, well, so mine's a silly question, but it's like anything.
No.
A dentist looking in every mouth, like for you, like did you know at age 5 I wanted to be?
No, I did not.
So how did you get into this specialty, or becoming a OBGYN?
Well, there's a series of decisions that get made when you go into training as a physician. And some people know very young they want to be a doctor, and I was
Yes.
not that person. I just had all the right prerequisites. And someone else who I asked, like, do you know what you want to do with all of this? And she was very clear that she was going to medical school, and she talked up the program where she was applying.
Wow.
And it sounded amazing, and I checked it out, and I thought, that would be really cool. But had never really considered medicine, because to me, medicine was the smartest person in the class, who always excelled at absolutely everything and dedicated every waking moment to studying. And I had had fun in university. I moved out, I had a job, I went to the bar, I hung out with friends. So I just didn't think I was that person. But I had everything that was required on paper, and I applied and I got in. So now, lo and behold, I'm gonna be a doctor. Like, holy cow. Mom, guess what? I'm going to med school. I didn't know you wanted to do that.
Neither did I.
Yeah, me
Guess
neither.
what? Surprise. But I absolutely loved training as a physician. And in medical school, you start to get exposed to all the different specialties.
Right.
And as a person who had no sort of family medical background, really had no idea how varied the options were, and thought, I'm going to be a family doctor.
Yeah. Perfect.
I would be a terrible family doctor. Okay. Family doctors are a jack of all trades, and often masters at all of them.
Yes.
Family doctors are very good at a lot of different things. I excel at focus.
A focus.
That's right. So, you give me a topic and I will absolutely devour it and know everything there is to know about it, and that's what I'm good at. And I also found out that I love surgery, a lot. So I ended up in obstetrics and gynecology because it offered me all of those things, and because getting paged at 4 o'clock in the morning to deliver a baby is a great thing to wake up for.
Yes.
So
No,
That's
it is
true. Yeah.
Yeah, most of my specialty is joy.
Not that I could do that, but I'm really glad you can.
Yes. That's why she's
That's
a
awesome.
specialist. I know. You can only do so much. Well, and I guess now, I mean, if we can talk about your personal life, you have family too, and so yeah, so you get these women that are first time pregnancy, or women that have had more than one baby and they've been there, done that, and now that you've gone through it and everything, is it easier now to relate to women than it was when you were first starting?
For
and
sure.
I guess for obvious reasons, you didn't have the experience.
Although
but
I had
now-
my kids fairly early on. My first child was born when I was a first-year medical student, and my second child in first year of residency training.
Oh, so they're born to
So-
be doctors then at some point.
I don't think so. I would support them, but not necessarily push them that way. It's a hard, long haul.
Oh, yes.
But I was always a physician with kids. So a lot of my colleagues become doctors and start working and then have their families. And so they maybe see a difference in how they approach certain things after they become parents.
Yeah.
But I sort of was all the way along. So I didn't notice a shift in my practice or anything, but definitely I think had a more practical approach to some things than some of my classmates did.
Right, yeah.
A lot of my classmates were still living at home and were that person that studied all the
Yep.
time and didn't move out and have a job
No.
and that sort of thing. So we were worlds different. I had a husband and dogs and children and a mortgage and
Very busy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
Again,
There's a
sudden
variety
times.
of life experience
Yeah.
in your trainees, and that gives a variety of experiences.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
totally. You just become, I think, so much more well-rounded too
Yeah,
at
and-
an early age.
Well, and I think, like she said, you kind of become more in tune with what your patients really need from you. And I'm sure that you're seeing a shift from like maybe how our mothers would treat a trip to the gynecologist versus us and even women who are younger now. So I hope that we're demystifying the vagina and all the things that come along with it and making it seem, and we've talked about this on Twitter as well, is that we're huge proponents of sex education, because when you know how your body works, you know what questions to ask, and you know when things are not normal, and you know when there might be something that needs to be checked, and you know that you need to have regular visits with your doctor. And I think all those things are really smart and healthy things for women to grow up with, knowing how their body works.
And I think that we would expand the title of sex education to be something that, I don't know, is less controversial.
Yeah.
People hear sex and they don't want to talk about it, or they don't want to talk to their kids about it. But we should be talking about how our bodies work, whether you're having sex or not.
Right,
Just
exactly.
because they're the organs you might use to have sex, or that might end up pregnant if you have sex, doesn't mean you shouldn't know how they work when you're not.
Yes, it's like owning a car and not knowing what's under the hood, right? Like
Well, I'm guilty of
kind
that.
Yeah. But you still know how to go to a specialist for it. But really, just to understand the basics of how your body works, I
Yeah.
think is really smart.
I see a lot less shame
That's
in,
good,
in
that's
younger
good.
women.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Totally.
Some of the patient encounters that make me the saddest are, sort of the older ladies who have been struggling with something for years, and they come and see me. They're so ashamed, they're practically in tears. They're hiding their faces. And then when we sort of get to the root of the problem and address it, sometimes it's a quick solution. And they walk out of there and they say, like, oh my God, I could have been living so much better and happier
For so
in
many
this
years.
body if I had just talked to someone about this. And those make me sad.
Right.
I love the young women that come in and say, hey doc, I want to talk to you about this thing.
Yes.
I'm like, yes, let's
Yeah,
do
I've
it.
already Googled it. I think it's this. Do you think it
I
is?
know.
Da da da.
Well,
Right?
that's just it too. But like going back to the whole thing, yes, of becoming more aware, and I think we are doing a better job of becoming more aware of our bodies. But when you said check under the hood and everything like that, there's, I guess because it's still ingrained in us, the sense of romance, the sense of mystique, the sense of, the unknown.
Yeah.
We just don't.
But
Like,
unknown is scary.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we know now. And
Yeah, and
but-
it's funny because when you have young children, right? And so mine are going to be 14, 12, and 9, and they asked me years ago, well, where do babies come from? And I would give them age-appropriate answers, to understand how this happens. And now that they're older and have had, education in school and, education at home. And it's just like, so this is how it happens. And, you need to be educated about how, and not only just how, but why you don't necessarily want to do that when you're younger because of the consequences that can follow, right? So it's all part of a larger conversation. And, you talked about this before, right? Is that I'm always a proponent that education is key and that really being honest with your children is the best thing you can do for them because they're going to find out somehow, some way. And you don't want them to find out from the internet or,
oh God.
Well, most of them know more than you do. And it's just, and again, it's like how they're finding it. So are you still seeing like young women pregnant, like, young?
Yeah, absolutely. Not a lot in my practice, but I have a colleague friend who specializes in pediatric and adolescent OBGYN. So she has a lot of teens that she cares for and helps them get contraception, if they want it and definitely if they need it. And if they get pregnant, she takes care of them. And we're all a part of the same call group. So, we're involved when they come into hospital.
Yeah. So do you see, though, like, definitely more awareness, like, and safe practices more happening, or?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. There's still quite a lot of young women who are sheltered from good information, or who maybe see the same physician as their parents and are concerned to, maybe say something to that family doctor, not understanding that there is, confidentiality.
Yeah.
But, like my parents know you, so I'm
I'm not telling you.
And again, just, talking about access and getting rid of barriers. There's a clinic downtown, the Women's Health Clinic, that I accessed as a teen to get information that I knew wouldn't get back to my parents, and many other opportunities for teens to go in and do that on their own. And then they're also taking responsibility, which I think is a good thing all around.
Well, I think so too, and they're pretty well adjusted. But I mean, I guess I only kind of brought that up just because, again, it was a storyline at one of my favorite shows, Chicago Med. But it was she was a 17-year-old girl, and parents, she's got appendicitis, and she's tried to self-abort online, and the one pill the finishing pill or whatever, she had to go to a doctor. So she didn't, but it was just like,
Knowledge is, education is good.
And again, definitely
Knowledge
afraid
is
of, telling her parents. So,
Yeah.
and it ended up that they just covered it up. Like the wife didn't tell the husband, and the husband was left in the dark. And so
there's so much shame, around something that's biologically completely normal and something we should be anticipating.
Yeah, or you would hope to, right? If that girl was 27 and, they would be happy grandparents to, a child. But and so it's, I think, going to be an ongoing process, really. But I don't know, let's talk about the Jets. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no.
Are you a hockey fan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's wearing her blue.
I know.
That's right.
Or I just thought you were blue. No.
I'm both. I'm blue about the Jets, but also a fan.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And you're talking about a certain announcement that Leslea has in June.
Yeah, so she's going to be starting a new position, which is really exciting. And she's going to be talking about that and more at TEDx Winnipeg, which is really exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they have a great lineup this year. So what's your topic, Dr. Leslea?
It's about minding your own pregnancy.
Excellent. What does that mean?
Yeah, I know. It's sort of.
I like the topic.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to spend some time talking about sort of normal physiology of pregnancy and some of the symptoms that people who are pregnant will experience. And it's not all that pleasant.
Yes.
Being pregnant is usually pretty awful at some point.
Sometimes it's not a fairy tale, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that I end up addressing in my prenatal visits with patients is their concerns about something that someone said to them. About, you're too big, you're too small, you're eating this wrong, you shouldn't be having that.
Oh my gosh, as if we're not open to enough criticism on a daily basis. As soon as someone thinks you're pregnant, oh my gosh, out comes the advice, right?
Right. Yeah. And, I've noticed people see a pregnant belly and they absolutely need to comment.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And the comment is almost never neutral or positive. it's always some sort of a warning or,
You know what my pet peeve is people who share horrible birth stories.
Yeah.
So when I was pregnant, I would tell people, I don't want to hear your birth story. Don't tell me. I'm not interested. Because I'm going to have my own birth story, and it's going to be wonderful, or it's going to be whatever, but it's not going to be tainted by your horrible birth story.
Whatever it is won't be influenced by what happened to you.
Exactly. Right. Is that sort of what you mean then? Yeah. They're just like, oh, wait till this happens.
So then what do you say? So then what is the counter to that?
Well, so what I've actually started saying to women, couples, when I meet them for the first time is that they need to practice saying, my doctor says I'm doing just fine.
Oh,
and
perfect.
Then, you know, if the person said, oh my God, you look huge, and you're now stressing about, is my baby too big? And, you know, am I gaining too much weight? Come and ask me. And we'll look at your weight gain together. We'll measure the height of your uterus and see if it's appropriate. And then we can actually, you know,
Put a plan together.
Put those fears to rest.
Yeah.
Or if you are measuring big, we're going to address that. So just to practice, you know, saying to people like, thank you for your opinion, but we got this.
Just fine. Yeah.
We're fine.
Oh.
And my only comment to people is that you should never comment on a pregnancy. Unless you see the baby crowning, don't ever ask a woman if she's pregnant. Don't ever reach out to touch her belly. Oh, yes. Like, please don't.
No.
Please don't. There should be like a fence
There
around
really should be.
pregnant
Yeah.
ladies. Yeah.
But that is a common mistake. I've made it, so I'm just gonna.
You know, and it's not that I haven't either, but sometimes it escapes your mouth before you can even stop yourself, and you're just like,
It's a natural thing.
I didn't mean to say that, or I shouldn't have said that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was awkward.
I know, right? Yeah, and then you're just like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So did you have good pregnancies or easy pregnancies?
I think I had pretty average pregnancies. There were different discomforts.
Yeah.
Things that caused me stress or pain. But even a completely normal, healthy, good pregnancy comes with stuff.
Oh gosh.
You know, having to wake up to do a 3-point turn in bed to get to the other side is not something that I miss.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
And have ever had to do except for while I was pregnant.
Yes. I know. Oh gosh. Well, and then you have 3, so the third one was just like, or
You know what? I had 3 completely different deliveries and 3 almost different, experiences each time. So
Really?
I
Yeah.
did the C-section, I had the VBAC, and then I did completely natural. So
Wow.
whatever you want to know, ask me. Yeah, because I've done it all, and it was important to me though. Like the second time with Sam, I did not want to have a C-section again. I had a toddler at home. I had stairs at home. I did not want to be, recuperating after birth. And so I said to my OBGYN at the time, I want to do a VBAC. I said, are you supportive of that? And she said, yes, absolutely. I said, because people are telling me it's impossible, that if you have 1 C-section, you have to have C-sections for the rest. And she's like, oh, no. We can do whatever you want, she says. And then if anything changes, or if you feel uncomfortable, then we can re-examine what we're going to do later. And I'm like, okay. I said, because I do not want to be lying, there in the hospital. And all of a sudden it's like, well, this isn't happening, so we're just going to do a C-section. It's like, we're going to be patient. We're just going to wait. And then, of course, he came 3.5 weeks early. So he messed that right up. But it was one of those things where I was comfortable because she had said, I'm going to work with you and what you want. Yeah. Now, that being said, birth plans can go out the window sometimes. So you really have to, I think, the psychology of the birthing process really needs to be about accepting that you want to be in control, but that you might not be at the very end. So you kind of have to release yourself to that, knowledge, right?
People ask me about birth plans. Do you recommend I make one? What should
I
be on
laminate it? Yeah.
And honestly, I tell them, coming in with a birth plan is sort of like bringing your recipe into someone else's kitchen.
That's a good one. I like that.
If they're missing an ingredient, are you going to feel like the whole thing is a failure?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So look at birth plans, look what's on them so that you can educate yourself about what are the options, what are the different ways that this can go, and have an idea of what your ideal birth looks like. But try not to come into it with an expectation that it's going to go exactly this way.
Right.
Because if you can roll with the punches, you're going to be a lot happier at the end of it that you got the outcome that you wanted. At the end of it, you wanted you and baby to be safe and ready to embark on this life together.
Right.
To me, birth is sort of like weddings. We spend so much time planning for and stressing about
Yes.
and worrying about, really we should be worried about the marriage
Right,
and
right.
the parenting that
Yes,
comes after.
Agreed, yeah.
Oh, no,
It
that
is a
goes out
huge
the window.
occasion.
Yeah.
It is momentous.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the biggest
Yeah,
piece.
and I think too with the birth plan too is that you've put so much hope and expectation on what's going to happen that when what actually happens is you feel like a failure because that plan didn't come true for whatever
Oh, and
reason.
then I wonder.
And that's
yeah.
not the case at
No.
all.
No.
You pushed out a baby. You did an amazing job. And if you had a C-section, you did an amazing job. And there's no right way to give birth, right? And so I think that we need to release ourselves of those expectations and think, I did this wrong or I should have done this. And what I think is the most important thing is that you need to be communicating with your healthcare team and you need to have an advocate for you. So whether that's your husband, your partner, a doula, whatever, just letting those things be known, I think is most important. And that I think can really help soothe the expectations falling by the wayside kind of thing.
Yeah.
So speaking of birthing plans, a doulas or home births, what's your opinion?
Well, there's a whole spectrum. And,
Yes.
and a
I know, I
doula
know.
doesn't necessarily mean a home birth.
Yes, so that's
and
what I
and
found
a home
out.
birth
Yes.
doesn't always include a doula.
Yeah.
So home births that's a tricky topic for me because I see a lot of very uncomplicated, low risk, straightforward, beautiful deliveries that in hindsight could very easily have happened at home,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But I've also seen the absolute turn on a dime near catastrophes that we've managed to have a good outcome because we were so close to an operating room and a team and all of those supports. So, making a statement about home birth should never happen because of those near misses or, catastrophes is probably excessive.
Yeah.
But they make me nervous, I'll be honest. They make
Well,
me nervous
yeah,
because
and
of
I think
what I've
it's
seen.
yes, and as it's obviously between the parents or the person, the woman giving
Yeah,
birth.
and I have so many friends who've done home births and had great success with it. But it's like she says, and she's the doctor, right? Like
I know.
that's her
Well, I
experience.
see the
that's
worst
her,
stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yes,
So
well,
it's
The ones that
you
have a
can't blame her
good
for that
delivery at
perspective,
home,
yeah.
I never see.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
The ones that don't go so well at home, that come in an ambulance,
And it's chaos
Those are the
and
ones
stressful,
I see.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I recognize that I have a bias there.
Totally.
And, I have had patients who were sent to me because of something high risk in their history. And then, we went on to go through a good pregnancy that goes to term and then uncomplicated delivery. And then they're back again pregnant. And now they're considering a birth center delivery or a home birth. And I say, really, once you get to term again, you're an excellent candidate for that. And if that's what you want to do, I fully support it. But it's having the benefit of that experience
Exactly.
and knowing how
care.
things have gone before.
Yeah. Oh no.
And getting to that point, right?
Yeah, and I think too that goes back to again excellent communication between patient and caregiver and healthcare provider is to just have those conversations and to not be afraid to tell them your recommendation and her to ask like what do you think
and then the recommendation can be specific to that woman's situation.
Exactly.
The broad recommendation may not fit the situation.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well,
it's
it just
seeing
sounds
people
like
as individuals.
Yeah. Yeah. You just sound like a great doctor.
She is, of course. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it says that she's not taking any new patients. But anyways.
Always taking new patients.
No, I mean, it's a talk that you need to have. I mean, I don't have any girls. I brought all boys. So, but it's just a hard topic.
Yeah.
Until you're actually
one daughter.
one
I do.
daughter.
So,
So
we
have
all
you
have
had
two
this?
boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 boys and then my girl.
But you know what? I talk to my boys about this stuff.
Yeah, so do I.
My
Yeah.
boys know about periods.
Well,
They know
yeah.
about
I tell
tampons.
I tell
and
them they
pads,
should carry
all
some
the
in
things.
their backpacks.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
Just because you never know when you can help a friend out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think one would be fine with it, the other one would not.
Sometimes it's a
Same.
great way to meet
Yeah.
girls, though. I
I
gotta
know.
say, because when you're in
Yeah.
an emergency, you're gonna get that.
Doesn't
that
matter,
maxi
yes.
pad or tampon from anyone who's got one. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're looking forward, though, to hearing you at TED Talks. So that's
Thank
happening
you.
in June?
It's happening in June.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be awesome. And then your new position. We just briefly touched on that with
Yeah.
the Winnipeg Hospital. Yeah, health sciences.
At Health Sciences, yeah.
Yes.
So we have a head of department, and then a head at each hospital within the department, and then a head of obstetrics and a head of gynecology, just to help coordinate all of
Everything.
the care and the education that's happening. We train residents at both sites here in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So that was a position that was held by someone that I respect very much, who just recently retired, and I was very excited to be considered for the job. So
Wow.
Congratulations.
Well, yeah.
thank you so much.
That's so exciting, and
So
it's so
deserving.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. To
Well,
be
she is a
training-
rock star.
She
I agree.
is.
I
She
agree.
is. And
Yes.
I just think it's really important that, women in positions of power and authority and teaching and mentoring, all those things, you have such a great skill set that you can, impart to future students and residents. And I think that's just really great for incoming medical students and residents. It's great.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're now officially a member of the HUE CREW.
Yay!
Yes, anytime we want to talk about more women's health with Dr. Leslea.
That's right.
Sure.
Thank you
Right.
so much for coming today.
Thanks.
Thank
oh,
you
and
for
you know what?
inviting me.
Do you like our new show home here? Yes, Susie.
I like our set today. This is a gorgeous set.
It's Foxridge in Ridgewood West, so a big shout out to Foxridge Homes. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, so I think it's coffee time.
Definitely.
Great,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Check you out next episode.